Thing of the week.
So this week we did the thing where we each suggested something to the other.
Mm-hmm.
I had never actually seen Beverly Hills Cop before, so Daniel suggested that to me.
Yeah.
He is going to broaden my 80s horizons one movie at a time.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed.
So I actually have a kind of a connection to this story, and I'm going to dox myself mildly here because you'll be able to figure out my age.
Uh,
Uh, when when my dad and uncle were in the middle of seeing this movie when my mom's water broke, so they didn't get to see the end of the movie.
oh.
Um, Now that doesn't narrow it down as much as you might think because I looked it up on the numbers. This thing was in theaters forever
Mm-hmm.
in 1984 and 1985.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For a long time it was the highest grossing R-rated movie.
Yeah, and it made like $250 million in 1980s dollars. That's I was
Yeah.
like, is that the adjusted for inflation number? No, that's just the raw number.
That's yeah. Yeah.
So, but back to so that's kind of I don't I always have like a tie to this movie because I'd heard that story so many times.
yeah.
So the plot is it's almost like a subversion of the typical rogue cop movie
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Axel Foley, played by Eddie Murphy here, uh, might be the most I can't believe he's not corrupt cop I've ever seen.
yeah.
Actually, I think he is technically corrupt, but it's not like it, or he's like a con man. He
yeah.
basically is a guy from the streets who became a cop by I don't even know how he got through any academy. He is in theory good at his job, but he keeps making very dumb mistakes. Like the first scene, he ends up getting a truck full of stolen cigarettes, stolen again from impound because he tried to use them as bait for a sting operation. That's quite the critical failure there.
yeah. Yeah.
But around the time this is happening, a friend of his from back home shows up with a bunch of German bearer bonds. I just had to stop myself and go, I'm curious what a bearer bond actually is because this and Die Hard both revolved around them.
Yeah.
Because it's like I had a vague idea of what it was. It turns out that bearer bonds have basically been extinct since the 80s because of the immediate flaw that you hear with them. So wait, anybody in the world can show up at the bank with this piece of paper and they get the bond plus the principal plus the interest. Yes. And they're not tied to a particular person. Yes. This seems extremely easy to abuse for like fraud and money laundering. And basically everyone in the world agreed.
yeah.
There are apparently all United States Treasury bearer bonds have matured by now, but there are like according to Wikipedia as of like 2020 there were 87 million out there that were unclaimed,
Hmm.
which makes me wonder if a certain number just got lost or because of course the problem with the bearer bond is they're not tied to a particular identity, so you can't exactly show up at the bank and say, "Hey, I kind of totally lost my bearer bonds." That's like, well, that's your problem, man.
Yeah.
Uh, but so there was a guy had this big stack of German bearer bonds and he was living it up. And then a couple of hoods show up, knock out Axel, and kill him. And so Axel goes to Beverly Hills, which is where his buddy had been living, to try to track down the murderer. Now he is not officially there on the investigation. In fact, he's been told to know in certain terms, stay off of this investigation.
yep.
Guess, guess what he does? He proceeds to investigate.
yes. While he's supposed to be on vacation. Yeah.
Yes. So overall thoughts or the things that stuck out to me, this movie earned its R rating. Like I was shocked at how many F bombs were just being said constantly through this movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Eddie Murphy, like especially early in his career, he was very vulgar. Yeah.
Yeah. I also, uh, thought how to put this. I don't think I like this movie as much as you do. Unfortunately,
Mm.
it's uh, what I would say is that there are scenes where Eddie Murphy like really sells it, and like he's definitely a clever character.
Mhm.
It just sometimes I got annoyed with the schemes he was running because it's like there's no reason to be running a scheme right now. If you were just honest occasionally, you would be in less trouble. I think he's actually a pathological liar is the problem.
Well, I don't think you're wrong about that. Yeah.
And by the nature of it as an action comedy, like the action beats were really good, but like the problem with the comedy is if it doesn't quite hit you right,
Mm.
that can be slightly tiresome. It's like it's not a bad movie or anything, and I think I had actually seen the last shootout scene before on TV at some point because it seemed very familiar as it was happening.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to remember how it. I'm trying. It's at the mansion, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I would say that like the best scene is when he takes those two police officers to a strip club. At least as
Yeah.
far as like action and the scheming and scamming he's doing. It's just
Yeah.
it is like I found it strange to realize. Wait, is the movie wanting me to celebrate him corrupting these two cops? Because he's totally corrupted these two cops.
Yeah.
Like, there's a greater evil, but technically he's turned these two into dirty cops just like him.
Yeah.
Because he is a
Well, yeah.
thief and a liar, and
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, the whole premise with the movie is showing the culture clash between
yep,
Detroit and Beverly Hills.
yep,
Because how he does things in Detroit's a lot different than how they do it in Beverly Hills.
yeah. Like they're by the book, and that's why I was like, this is like the subversion of those cop tropes. It's like if you took a movie like Dirty Harry, where you have a cop who plays by his own rules, but you just
Mhm.
like, but what if it was funny?
Yeah, yeah.
So like I don't regret watching it just because now I understand.
Yeah.
It's just like it didn't quite hit me.
Okay.
Also, I didn't realize just how much that dee 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 would be used through the entire movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a theme from Beverly Hills Cop. No, it was the theme from
It's,
Beverly Hills Cop.
yeah, yeah. They play it ad nauseum. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my overall thoughts.
Okay. All right.
Meanwhile, when I
So
inflicted on Daniel,
yeah. Yeah. Be- Hey, Beavis.
yeah, what?
Yeah, so I watched Beavis and Butthead do the universe. Now I've never really been into Beavis and Butthead. I mean, I mean, occasionally watch the TV show like on reruns,
hmm
and I'm just like, okay, they're just a couple of really dumb, horny teenagers who like to inflict pain on each other.
You have accurately summed up the entire premise that lasted them like 12 seasons.
Yes. And I did watch the first movie, Do America, and I will say this movie has a lot of similarities to the first movie, kind of a similar plot structure, and where they're going across, trying to, they're trying to score. They must score.
Yeah, we're gonna score.
Yeah. uh, but yeah, so I'll try not to talk too much about the plot because I know this was your thing of the week not too long ago. But it starts off in 1998 when they're still in high school, and they're at their science fair, and they cause a fire, and they cause a fire at the science fair, and then rather than the judge, rather than like sending him to prison or anything like that, he watched an episode of Touched by an Angel, which no one under the age of 30 remembers Touched by an Angel.
Unless they remember that Family Guy joke. Now, where did the angel touch you?
Oh, come on, I got a freaking halo on my head. But anyway, so the judge decides to be more forgiving and sends Beavis and Butthead to space camp, which was the top prize for the science fair. and they really like this the whole docking thing, because so one of the female astronaut who's the mission commander decides to take them along on their next mission to go to the Mir space station, which again, no one under the age of 30 remembers the Mir space station. But and of course, hijinks ensue, and then Serena Ryan, I can't believe I remember her name, but Serena Ryan, the mission commander, of course, she's completely oblivious to the fact that like the only reason that Beavis and Butthead are there because they think they're going to score with her. Oh, we're going to score with her. And so she knocks them out into space, and they get sucked into a black hole and end up in 2022 out on a beach in Galveston, Texas. And that's actually something I really liked because, of course, I lived in Texas for a long time. So seeing them go to all these, Texas places was kind of funny. So then, of course, Serena Ryan is now the governor of Texas. And what I find funny is that the first officer or whatever is her lieutenant governor. And interesting little factoid, if you're but inside Texas politics, baseball, Texas politics, for a long time, the lieutenant governor was actually more powerful than the governor. Governor was kind of like a figurehead. Didn't really because lieutenant governor was the one that got everything done. But then when George W. Bush, when he became governor, he changed all that.
Okay. Was it like that way, like officially, or was it just kind of how things had shaken out?
It was just the way things had shaken out. Yeah. But anyway, Beavis and Butthead, they're trying to get to Serena, find Serena so they can score, and and of course they got the government following them because they think they're aliens, and then they Beavis and Butthead, of course, they have to fix the multiverse because they encounter smart Beavis and smart Butthead.
Well, while we are in fact the smartest Beavis and Butthead, we are still sadly dumbasses.
Yeah. Yeah, they mentioned some joke and they're like, yes, very humorous, yeah, very droll, yeah,
quite droll, yes, yes,
yes, great commentary on modern times, yes. But it's I will say, like, I think, like with Beverly Hills Cop, I probably didn't enjoy this as much as you. I think I'm glad this movie was only 85 minutes. Because I think if it was any longer, the joke would have really worn thin. It was kind of wearing a little thin with me, kind of towards the end, or at least kind of the parts of it in the middle were kind of like, okay,
Right, kind of the interchangeable comedy scenes.
Yeah. Although I did like the scene where they go to Texas State University.
I was wondering if that one would stick out for you.
Oh yeah. They learn about their white privilege.
We have white privilege? Cool.
They just go around doing whatever the hell they want.
Hey, my father's very powerful.
Yeah. That was probably the funniest part in the movie for me. Although I did like when they go to prison, when they get right after that, when they get arrested, and then of course we see the great Cornholio. I need TP, and everybody and all the prisoners are like, yeah, we don't get enough TP, and he almost causes a riot. And like, it's not about TP anymore. He's inspired them.
That's basically. I ended up on the recommendation of Tom over at Midnight's Edge. I gave this one a shot, and then I ended up going back and watching the whole show pretty much in the background for a while there. It was why I had Paramount Plus for a time, and I realized that it's basically the same premise over and over again. The new show is pretty good, actually, although The one thing that's kind of weird is that you know how in the movie they showed like the smart Beavis and Butthead showed them this is what you should be in the year 2022, and like one of them's fat and the other one's like they're still living in their apartment, and
Yeah,
the other one's
yeah,
like missing all of his teeth. And
yeah.
in the new show, they actually do a lot of those flash forward future Beavis and Butthead things.
Okay.
So honestly, those are more sad than funny because it's like, oh, they're teenagers, they can bounce back. Like, oh, Butthead has like serious, like he has multiple heart surgeries because he's fat and doesn't seem to understand that he should lose some weight.
Oh God. Oh man.
But yeah, so you know what? Sometimes you're gonna have kind of a more meh reaction to these, but
Yeah.
it's fun to expand each other's horizons.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, moving on to
Yes. Now, our reasons for doing the box office analysis